Hi there guys, I'm Nikhil from Greedy Tech and this is the camera review of the Vivo V9. On the back, this phone comes with a dual camera setup with a 16 megapixel primary camera with f2.0 aperture and a 5 megapixel secondary camera with f2.4 aperture. On the front, it has a single 24 megapixel camera with f2.0 aperture. Now coming to the sample pictures, these are some shots taken in daylight and well-lit conditions with HDR turned off. Like all the previous Vivo phones, it too overexposes the shot to make it look bright, but loses details and colors at the overexposed part. Color reproduction is good. Colors are slightly to the warmer side, but you still get close to accurate colors. Dynamic range is also good. With HDR off, sharpness and capturing speeds are good. Now these are some pictures taken with HDR turned on. It takes pretty good images, but takes like a second to capture the shot. If you can hold your phone stable, you will get sharp images. Color reproduction and dynamic range are pretty good in HDR mode. Now these are some macro shots. You get good bokeh effect while taking macro shots, and focusing speeds were pretty good. If Vivo can fix the exposure issue and improve the capturing speeds in HDR mode, rear camera on this phone will perform even better. Now coming to portrait mode, here are some sample shots. Portrait shots are really good on this phone. Edge detection isn't as good as phones like Mi A1 or the Redmi Note 5 Pro, but still does a pretty good job. It has good exposure control, good color reproduction, and good dynamic range. In the portrait mode, we can change the amount of blur effect we want before taking a picture, and even after taking a picture, we can change the focus point and the amount of blur effect. So that's like an additional feature. Now coming to low light performance, these are some pictures taken in indoor lighting conditions. Capturing speeds are good, it has good color reproduction, but when zoomed in, images look soft. Now these are some pictures taken in low light outdoor conditions. In low light, capturing speeds are good, but lacks sharpness. Even the colors look dull and kind of faded. Noise is very well managed. At least there isn't any noticeable noise in the image. Now coming to selfies, this phone even supports Auto HDR for selfies, but all these pictures were taken with HDR turned off. Even in very harsh lighting conditions, like a completely bright background, this phone has done a pretty good job at taking great selfies. Color reproduction, sharpness and capturing speeds are all good. It overexposes the shot to make you look bright and fair, but still exposure control is pretty good. Dynamic range is okay. Now these are some sample shots taken with HDR turned on. With HDR on, you get good selfies, but you need stable hands to take sharp selfies. Now coming to portrait selfies, here are the sample shots. As it uses a single camera, edge detection isn't perfect, but it still does a pretty good job. Just like with the selfies, portrait selfies also look very good. Now coming to low light performance, these are some selfies taken in low light indoor conditions. Once again, selfies are overexposed to make the subject look fair, and because of that, background is slightly blurred and colors look faded. Exposure control is pretty good. Now these are some selfies taken in very low light outdoor conditions. Now in very low light conditions, phone uses the display as flash, and that isn't all that bright, at least in very low light conditions. Now all these pictures were taken under the street light, and as you can see, all the selfies were overexposed. Literally the subject got blown out. I have no idea why that happened. I just hope it isn't an issue with the phone. I'll test out the cameras in low light once again and update the information in description, so just check that for more updated information. Now this phone also supports AR stickers, and these are some sample shots. When compared to the Oppo F7, there are more stickers on this phone and they work slightly better than Oppo F7. Now coming to video recording, here's the sample footage recorded using the rear camera. Unlike the previous Vivo phones, this phone supports 4K video recording. That's like a huge step up, but still lacks video stabilization. So the footage is very shaky. Color reproduction is good, exposure control and exposure shift are very well managed. I really like the footage quality, but I wish it had stabilization. By the way, this video is recorded at 1080p at 30 fps. Now this is the footage recorded using the front-facing camera. Because of the wide-angle camera, you get a wider footage. Surprisingly, it can even record video in 4K resolution, but still lacks stabilization. Color reproduction, exposure control, and exposure shift are very well managed. Even when there is a bright background, phone quickly adjusts the exposure to make the subject look bright and visible. So that's a pretty good thing. Even the noise cancellation is pretty good. Now this is the footage recorded using the rear camera in low light indoor conditions. Now this is the footage recorded using the front camera in low light indoor conditions. So guys, to conclude, cameras on this phone are really good. They are obviously not perfect, but they do a pretty good job for the price. If Vivo can fix the minor issues with capturing speeds in HDR mode and exposure control in low light selfies, cameras on this phone will perform even better. So guys, looking at the sample pictures and the sample footage, what do you think about the cameras on this phone? Do let me know by commenting below this video, and if you're planning to buy this phone, use the link in the description. It really helps the channel. If you want us to make any specific video, tweet out to us with the hashtag AskGreedyTech on Twitter and we will try to make it as soon as possible. If you like this video, hit that like button and subscribe to our channel to see more cool videos on tech. I'm Nikhil from GreedyTech signing off. Have a nice day.